So I'm right now with Tom Turcich. He's a wanderer. He's walked about 17,600 miles around the world through six continents, and he's now staying in Cappadocia, Turkey. Tom, my first question will be, uh, Henry David Thoreau said, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not when I came to die, discover that I had not lived." Why did you decide to embark on this journey? And what would you say you have learned from this journey?
Yeah, I mean, Thoreau was definitely very influential, and I think he had it right in a lot of ways. Where my friend died when I was about 17, and it was very formative. I realized that I was going to die, and it's a big realization when you realize you're going to die, when it hits you viscerally. And thinking about Thoreau, you realize life is going to end before I knew it, and exactly what he said is I didn't want to look back and realize I hadn't done anything. And so that was definitely part of it, of walking around the world, was how do I live a full life? And the world walk seemed like the answer. And now I'm about 5 years in, and I've definitely changed a lot. I've been through a lot of different countries, had a lot of different crazy experiences, had all sorts of different foods, met different people with different viewpoints. And I don't know if my overall, that base lesson of try to live a full life has changed at all. I think one of the largest lessons, though, that I've learned from the World Walk is that with these bigger goals that I have and who I want to become, it's just kind of take it one step at a time. It's this lesson that's been burned into me over and over every day, where sometimes I want to get to town, but it's 40 miles away and it's going to take me 2 days no matter how fast I walk. So I walk as much as I can in one day, and then be satisfied. And I kind of apply that to my whole life now, do a little work and then be satisfied and move on to the next
Yeah.
day.
Now you faced danger and that throughout your journey, from being held at knife point in Panama to being sick for months and not being able to continue through your journey. So now people have been forced to stay at home and they face that, seeing their relatives die, being sick and recovering. What would you tell these people to overcome their fears?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's very difficult. I think the only thing that we can do is obviously just try and be responsible, wear a mask, and stay at home as much as possible. But as far as overcoming your fears, I think a lot of that is a bit more existential, where I think you kind of have to be not so afraid of well, don't be afraid of death in the first place, because it's going to happen no matter what. So just get
Yeah,
over it. You're going to die. And whether you're 7 years old or you're 70, when it's done, it's done.
yeah, it's a
So
fact. It's
that,
unavoidable.
yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, that's just part you have to accept. But I think on the larger scale, with fear, sort of outside of COVID, the world is a much safer place than I think a lot of people realize. And people are a lot nicer and more generous than I think than is portrayed in the news in general.
Yeah, and yeah, you've met definitely some very kind people. What would you say was the biggest tool to receive help from others?
Sorry, what was that? I missed you.
Yeah, what would you say is the biggest tool that one could have to receive help from others, from strangers?
Yeah, probably just smiling and being nice, and being willing to ask for help too. I think that's the biggest thing. Just don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, I've asked for help in hundreds of situations, and people are almost always willing to help you. But so you got to ask though.
Yeah, you definitely have to ask. If you don't ask, you won't receive any help. Like
Yeah,
if you don't ask, you get a no for sure. If you ask, you might get a yes.
exactly.
Yeah. So in the beginning of your journey, you spent some sketchy nights. I think you said it in a few interviews before that you spent some sketchy nights, and that's why you got Savannah to keep you company and to keep you safe. But still, you spent plenty of nights without seeing, without having any direct human interaction, without seeing
Mm.
any human around you. And during this quarantine, a lot of people been forced to spend their days inside their apartments alone. What would you what would you say to these people that to overcome to cope with this issue of being alone, of not seeing anyone?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think you really have to have your mind in order, and so I think to have your mind in order to sort of be at peace with your days, you need to do a couple things. I definitely think you need to exercise. I think that is something that's almost underrated a little bit with how good it makes you feel, and adds it's sort of this kind of fundamental fact of who we are as humans is that we need exercise to get the juices going and get some
Yeah,
serotonin pumping in the brain.
it helps you to
Uh,
think better as well.
Definitely, 100%. Yeah, it's very clarifying. And then otherwise, I would say, push yourself a little bit in some directions. It's when you're alone, it's really about kind of being your own best friend. And so, who do you want as a best friend? So you got to treat yourself well in your own head. You have to be nice to yourself, but you also want to push yourself. You want a friend who's going to say, "Oh, you can do it. Try a little bit. Why don't you try that kind of thing?" And so, maybe try some hobbies or take some online classes, stuff like that, and fail, but don't be, again, be your own best friend and fail and just go, we were just having fun. It's fine. So I think you need some exercise, kind of be your own best friend, push yourself a little bit, but then also, relax. Don't kill yourself either. The COVID's a long haul. So,
Yeah, I know. So when COVID first started, I spent 4 months in my apartment in Lima alone with no one.
oh
So
no.
yeah, definitely exercise was the biggest help I could have. I tried to work out every day, at least 2 hours. I definitely helped a lot. Reading books. I
That's
started
great.
painting and stuff like that. So you have to get your mind going, set some goals, and everything will work out. Now this whole
Yeah.
pandemic,
It sounds
when
like
this
you had a
whole
good plan.
yeah, now when this whole pandemic started, you were in Azerbaijan, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Why did you return to Turkey, and when do you expect to be back on the road?
Yeah, well, so originally my plan for this past year from about March to around now this year was to walk from Azerbaijan all the way up to Mongolia. But that's a sort of like a tricky part of the world with weather. And because it's so far north, it gets really cold very early and the days get short very early. So I only have this small window to walk that. And so right at the beginning, I start into Azerbaijan, things shut down, and then I was stuck there for 6 months. And so after 6 months, like it was nice, and I was doing a lot of writing, and it was pleasant in a certain way, but I also wanted to get back to walking. And walking with Patreon and with my sponsors is how I make a living. So I needed to go somewhere sort of in the area where I wasn't flying around the world, where I could come back this coming March and try again to get to Mongolia. And so Turkey is like a big country. I've been there before. I've been here before. It's really welcoming. It's a good place for travel in general. And Azerbaijan is a very small country, so it's not like I can spend months walking there. So there, and it's also Azerbaijan's very disconnected. So
Yeah.
Turkey was the only way there. That Turkey was the only place there was flights. So I'm here, and the visas are good here. It's a friendly place, and I can walk here.
Yeah. What will you do? What will you do with all the writing? Because you were writing a blog. Will you write a book or something?
Yeah, definitely gonna be writing a book for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my last question is about it's more about the U.S. But the U.S. is a whole different place from when you were there
Yeah.
5, 6 years ago. So when you return, when you go back home, either Trump or Biden wins, who knows? Things will be much different. There's talks about civil war and stuff, but it will be a different place. We don't know.
Yeah.
But would you think it's going to be more like Mr. Savage from A Brave New World in Aldous Huxley, where you return, the whole world is so different, and you're so accustomed to this life on the road that you will be like, no, you know what? I'm going back on the road and I'm going walking again. Or would you think it will be more like Edmond Dantes in The Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas, that the whole world has changed, things are different, but you've changed so much that you can understand better what's going on, and you will use it to your advantage and maybe help in some sort of way the U.S.
Yeah, I think it's I definitely a little bit of both. You put that really well. There's definitely will be that savage part of me that I don't think, like, traveling will always be a part of me, I think, from the traveling and from just the spirit of traveling, the sense of adventure that I like, that you can only kind of scratch that itch through traveling. And then the other part, though, yeah, I've been all over the world, and I've seen the ways societies lived, and I've been able to sort of sort out what I think is a meaningful life. And I hope to contribute to the world in a larger, more charitable way, whether that's working with some foundation for dogs because I have Savannah, or anyway. But I definitely think when it's all done, sort of my priorities will change, and I will definitely want to actively make the world a better place.
Well, thank you very much for the interview, and I hope you can get back on the road soon.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, man.